This is going to be a good one. We're planning for 2019 in general, but more specifically with Nickelodeon Writing Program and its Director of Talent Development and Outreach, Shirley Ibarra.
Hi.
Welcome,
Shirley.
Shirley with
an E, not with an I.
Yeah.
Shirley with an E, not with an I.
Yes.
My, it's one thing to be Latina and have a name like Shirley, and then my parents decided to, just change it that much more and make sure I couldn't buy any of the keychains or mugs with your name on it.
No little license plates that say California.
No license plates for Shirley. It's Sherley.
Yeah, it makes you unique and original.
It does.
Yeah.
I love it because, first and foremost, you don't find too many young people with the name Shirley. So
Where did they get the name? Did they just...
Hawaii.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, I don't want to know the rest of the stories,
What happened in Hawaii? Never mind.
That's why it stays in Hawaii, what I'm saying?
Nate Friedman just has submitted my spec for the Nickelodeon Writing Program.
Yay! Thank God. So we have one submission.
Yeah.
You're going to do well, Nate.
You'll do great. It is an international submission.
And we met Nate at
at the Spokane Writers Conference.
Spokane Writers Conference.
Which is fantastic. It's primarily authors looking to write screenplays. But anyway, welcome,
Hi,
Nate.
Well, I'm Shirley. I've been with Nickelodeon for a little over 5 years. I'm almost 5.5 years, and recently took over the Nickelodeon Writing Program when Karen Kirkland left to
Karen has been a guest on our show.
Yes, she's been a guest. Love me some Karen Kirkland. Thank you very much. I miss her terribly, but we're holding down the fort and here to make 2019 bigger and better, right?
And more writers' dreams come true.
Yes. Very happy to be a part of the Nick Writing Program. It's a wonderful program. If you have any questions, obviously I'm here to answer them. But you can always go to nickwriting.com, follow us on Twitter, Facebook. It's really me and a team of like 2.5 people who answer all of your emails.
2.5.
Yeah.
Who's the half person?
There's another person on our team who runs another program, and so she kind of plays double duty there too.
Right.
So,
Okay.
But we answer all your questions. Sometimes it takes a little while, and by while I mean like a week, but we answer everything. It's all us. There's no robots or volunteers or
2.5 people.
That means you're very
country.
close.
Yeah.
You're very close.
And if you get an email from a half a person, they apologize.
Yeah.
You only get half an email from them.
Right.
Yeah, it'll be shorter,
Yeah, sure.
Well,
very brief.
we'll get into the specifics of the Nick Writing Program. We're going to talk about your background, where you came from, and how you made your way up here. But then
she came up the stairs.
I said up here. I don't know. It's the first broadcast of the year. Spencer's November.
Sorry, this is what happens. You know that.
I
just said the Nicky out of him.
Yeah, she
This is what happens.
Pull the
it's
other
basically
one.
when like you're together, when you're doing ISA events too.
Yeah,
No, she just makes fun of me, and I shake my head, and then
It's
pretty much
happy.
it. Yeah.
It's happy.
But welcome again, everybody. This wine was
Happy
given
2019.
to us.
Cheers, Shirley.
Who was this wine given to us by?
It was given us by Mugs Cahill and her wife Deirdre.
Right.
I know Mugs.
You know Mugs?
Yeah.
You know what? Can I just say that was Black Eyed Peas Pump It? We don't own the rights to that song. That's how we opened it. But anyway, I just want to let them know. Yeah, Mugs Cahill is one of our top 25.
I saw that.
Just recently announced the top
2019
25.
Writers to Watch.
Writers to Watch.
And I don't want to say that our decision was influenced by any chance by the fact that she bought me this lovely bottle of wine for Christmas. But
Maybe.
I would never say that.
No, Mugs is a damn good writer. I've worked with her for a long time. I know her way back from Writers Boot Camp days. It's probably almost 10 years ago. But we have not tried this. This is called Weasel and the Cork from Alexander Valley in Sonoma County. But thank you, Mugs. I hope it's good. If it's terrible, you are going to be kicked off the list.
We're so shallow. Oh, that's nice. Wow. That's my road.
That is
Fruity.
good. I don't usually love Cabernets, but this is
I'm a big fan.
all right.
There we go.
It's the only
So now
reason
you
she's
know
here.
then.
Yeah.
You want to make it on
program.
this list?
Yeah, right. Start sending wine to the Nick Writing Program.
Please don't.
No, you're a kid friendly.
Yeah.
We have another submitted my spec for the Nickelodeon Writing Program on January 2nd.
Yay!
Anthony McBride, welcome.
Thank you. And
When
Mary
did you
Davis
submit?
is one of our regulars. Hello, Mary. Nice to see you.
Yeah, we've got Maddie Cohen, Suzanne Prescott.
Hi, Maddie.
Elena.
Hi,
Hi, Elena. Writer Girl.
Right, Karma, that is. Karma. Hello,
okay.
Karma. We
I
met
just
at
like
Austin
calling
Film
you that.
Festival. We were just talking about Austin Film
And
Festival.
there you go.
How great it
If
is.
anybody looking at this, obviously people in the podcast can't see it, but anybody live right now, you can click on this link that Courtney shared in the comment section, and you can look at who our top 25 is. Cool. All right, I'll have to keep scrolling this, but yeah, cheers again.
Cheers. We are going to do questions.
You can ask questions
Shirley.
anytime.
So we'll probably do some at the end, and then if things kind of come up, so if you just think about things you'd like to ask about the Nickelodeon writing
And we have a
program.
ton of announcements to make, but we want to hear from Shirley first. So just give us your entire backstory, what day you were born.
Yeah, that's it. No pressure, but we're all looking
Started
at you and it's a
Hawaii.
monologue. Yeah.
Were you born in Hawaii?
No.
Oh, okay.
Maybe, I don't know. Or I mean, conceived, I don't know. I actually am from the Imperial Valley. It's a small town outside, border town outside of San Diego, about an hour and a half outside of San Diego. But before I came to Nickelodeon, I was actually in San Diego producing the San Diego Latinos Film Festival. And kind of that's where I got my start. I used to do their sponsorship and their marketing. And Nickelodeon actually was one of my sponsors. And worked with many others, but my start really was in event producing. And I worked there, and I worked at some other
Was this kind of out of college situation, or?
Yeah, I mean,
Stop
it
trying
was...
to find out how old she is.
Yeah.
I was curious if she went to school
Never
and where.
I am always 21.
Yeah.
We've all paused. Yes. But started there in San Diego, and then I moved over to the Boys and Girls Clubs of America to do take over a development role there, and loved my time there. I've got to say, if it wasn't for Nickelodeon and specifically Karen Kirkland coming and stealing me from there, I probably would have stayed there a long time. They're a great organization that I still support a lot. But I was doing development work there, and so I used to do big events there for them, galas and golf tournaments and all that stuff, and then still would support the festival for any needs that they had. And then I got a call from Karen, who I kept in touch with over the years, and she needed someone to help her with the Nickelodeon writing program and artist program to really just take their marketing efforts and their outreach efforts to the next level, and being able to find new talent that was different than what they were already getting in terms of their submissions. And so me having a festival background, Karen having a festival background, she used to produce a film festival
really just
as well.
the two of you.
It was a third person as well who used to actually manage the day-to-day of the program. And I basically came in to create a new development marketing plan to find new talent. And so that first year was Karen and I really going to all new schools and festivals and really this boots on the ground marketing, grassroots style.
How many years had it been running?
So now we're at year 16. So at the time it was probably 10 or 11.
Oh, it was.
Right.
Is that,
Yeah.
okay, wow.
Yeah. So it's been around for a very long time.
So you came in and helped kind of not redevelop,
Rebrand
but
it.
change.
Yeah. Karen's a person who likes change, and I'm a person who doesn't hate change, but I'm like, you know what? Yeah, let's do it. Why not? So it was really a perfect time for me. I didn't think that I would end up in Los Angeles, let alone working in entertainment, but I love it. I think the closest thing was when I was a kid, I wanted to actually be a cartoonist.
Oh, wow.
So I could draw. I can't anymore. Once you see the talent that comes through the doors at Nickelodeon, there is no way in hell that my bunny and my old Bart Simpson that I used to draw over and over again.
It's one of those talents that I'm just naturally jealous. Like, I'm not terrible. My dad's amazing, but he's not an illustrator. Like, it's a much different kind of art form, and some of these people just, bam, they just knock it out.
It's incredible, but I will say, it's so inspiring to work with so many creative people, and that was what really started my love of, writing, working with writers and artists. And really, for me, I've got to say, as a female, as a person of color, it was very important for me to find a way to create windows for people that don't have doors.
Yeah.
So you think of Nickelodeon and you think of this big company, it's owned by Viacom, and there's so much in there, and how do you get through, and it's this industry, and here's all these things, and it's like, well, you can come meet us at Austin Film Festival or at an ISA event or just email us, you know, and I really wanted to make sure that came across. And while the program is competitive, you know, to get in, we're definitely nowhere near as some of the other bigger programs in terms of number of submissions. But I always say you gotta take the opportunity where it presents itself.
Especially it's a free program.
It's free to apply. If you are selected, you get a salary, $50,000 for the year to develop yourself as a writer. So let me repeat that again. You get paid to develop yourself as a writer, right? So it's not just like, okay, here are your assignments and you have a year to complete them all and then we own them all. That's just not the way that we work at Nickelodeon. You know, it's really a collaborative effort. We put a lot of time and energy and resources behind our writers because we believe in them and we want to make them the best that they can be so that they can get staffed on one of our shows.
I know you also give them other skills though, don't you? Go into the room skills and putting the pictures together.
Oh God, yeah. There's so many opportunities that just come, you know, just because you're in the program, right? So we partner up with our development teams on both live action and animation. You know, it varies on the year and what the need is, but they'll work with development staff to put together pitch packets. And obviously during the duration of the program, we'll rewrite specs, we'll write new specs. You know, we'll get into a pilot if there's time.
So you know what we could do? We could probably get into like the step-by-step details. Like let's say Anthony is chosen as one of the 2 or 3 or 4, whatever. What would happen? You know, like we'll go into those details, but let's make these announcements first. And while you bring that up, I just want to go through some of the comments because we do have a bunch. Anthony submitted a BoJack Horseman spec in honor of all the failed Hollywood actors.
Funny.
This is a good question. Is Shirley on any social media? Instagram, Twitter, Friendster?
I need to. I need to be. I'm on Facebook, but I don't ever get on, which is terrible.
Well, how about Nick Writing Program?
But Nick Writing Program, we are on Facebook and on Twitter.
Yeah.
We're not on Instagram for the.
And there's only 2.5 people, remember, so you probably will be speaking to the right person.
Yes. Throw questions on there, and you know, reach out to us there. We're always around.
Hello from Vancouver, John Channel. 2019 is going well so far. We're only 9 days in. Writing Connections, can't wait to see where it goes. It feels so much longer. Let's see what Maddie says. I'm interested in pursuing animation writing, breaking into animation industry. One of my connections recommended I do a preschool spec script. I was wondering what the biggest difference is between the preschool and general tracks. Also, in your experience, what are the most notable differences between animation and live action? So that's a pretty big question, Maddie.
Multi-layered.
Yeah, so you know what, Courtney, good.
Ponder that.
Yes.
We've got it pinned down there, and Maddie, we'll get to your question. They're really good questions. I don't know if we're necessarily well, you might know a little bit more than Felicity and I, but we may not give perfect answers to that. Just give a little bit of a, you know, because I don't know that much about the animation world either. So you might have some better answers than us. Let's get into what do we got.
Our announcements. So announcements. We've got to do a bit of business first. You know, we always do. I wanted to say thank you very much to Nickelodeon as well for being our third Thursday sponsor for 2 years now, I think. And then you've also been the Table Read My Screenplay sponsor.
Who's been sponsoring these?
Last 2018 and sponsoring these. So I'm really grateful because the ISA loves you and we love what
it's our favorite fellowship. So if you haven't submitted, you need to be submitted.
So thank you, Nickelodeon.
Yeah. So when is the deadline? The 20th.
Yeah. So we're accepting submissions now through January 31st.
Oh, 31st. Okay,
Right.
Yes,
cool.
but don't wait till 31st. Please do not wait till the 31st. Nothing pains me more than getting an email on February 1st and saying, I submitted. I know I did at 11:58 p.m.
Right.
on the 31st.
You get it every year.
I get them every year, and you know, and can you please check to see if it went through? And there's nothing there, and legally we can't do anything about it.
And also, you have specific guidelines. You always judge the scripts blind, don't you? So there's no title page. There's certain things you have to do, certain rules you have to follow. So if you leave yourself to the last minute to do that, you won't get to it in time, and you'll be disqualified anyway. So it's a waste of your time.
If anything, go now into the website nickwriting.com
after this broadcast.
Open up the application. Put as much information as you can. Know the different things that you need, and then go back and work on it little by little. You know what I mean? But don't wait till the last minute.
Because there are some personal statements that you can add there and stuff in there. So that's, you know.
There's a whole application process. Yeah, right.
Although they're only 75 words or less, which I was quite impressed with. At least
That's
it's
what
a
I
small,
love.
it's like a distilled version of
Right.
your mission
Yeah.
and your message.
So let's get to a couple of questions now. I'm seeing Lucas says, I decided to give ISA Connect membership a whirl this month. Looking forward to some great writing gigs. There are going to be a ton of really fantastic writing gigs coming out this year. One little announcement that we are able to make is that we have launched a production arm of the ISA, production and development.
It's going to be great. I'm excited.
It's called Creative Screenwriter. And we're heading it, and we've optioned 4 projects so far,
Yes.
all of ISA members.
Wonderful.
Please do not email us your script right now.
It was a very long and hard selection process. We've been working for the company for 4.5 years, and
Yeah.
we finally think we're ready, and the scripts are ready for us to take them out. So
we are extremely particular. So
Yeah.
it really, in some ways, don't think you're not a good enough writer for it. You could be an amazing writer. It's more of who are our contacts and who can we take this project to, and do we love it enough to attach ourselves to it?
and we're babies.
We're still pretty new at it.
Yeah, we're taking our baby steps, and these 4 scripts we know really well. We know the writers really well, and we already have ideas about where they can live.
We have a director attached to one of them, and she's relatively well known. If we were to
Yeah.
tell you who it was and the names that the movies that she's done, you'd be like, oh wow. Really excited about that. So that's exciting. The reason I bring that up is because of a reference to the writing gig. There have been 2 writing gigs that were posted recently, one looking for a YA/teen project, as well as a horror thriller project. Those are both for us. So if you do want to be submitting either of those genres, you can look at the writing gigs. There are going to be more, maybe not necessarily just from us, but that we're going to be posting quite a few more writing gigs throughout the year. That's not the only thing to take advantage of with the ISA Connect membership, though. So just you can play around with your profile and just have more
Listen
fun
to
with the
the
site.
podcasts.
Yeah.
Get involved in the writing gigs. Really root around. There are some great things. Also now on your profile, if you're an ISA Connect member, you can do a video pitch of your screenplay.
Yeah.
You can also put a poster up. So there are lots of things you can do to really make your profile stand out.
Yeah.
For your $10 a month.
Yeah, $10.
And you can put all your scripts up for that $10, not just.
As opposed to Inktip,
It's
where
not-
I think it's like $10 per script or something, or Blacklist is $30 or
25.
yeah. Sam is asking, what do you think of the upcoming live action movies for Lion King and Aladdin? I'm stoked.
Oh, what do you think, Shirley?
Oh, I can't wait. That's
Yeah.
I'm curious to whether it'll be same shot by shot,
Right.
or if they're gonna change it, and I don't know which way would make me happy. Because I'm like, I really want to see it, shot by shot, so that way I know exactly what's coming next.
Yeah.
But then also, do I want to just see the same thing but the live action version?
My
Right.
only hesitation is that Robin Williams was so amazing as the genie that I don't think anyone can do it better. So Will Smith has got a lot of, big shoes to fill.
Well,
He's still gonna be
animation
great.
is, with animation you get so much more. Yes, the voiceover brings the character to
Right,
life, but I
yeah.
think you have so much more squash and stretch and
Totally. So it'll be interesting to see what they do to
and
make
how
the
they-
genie more than just some guy.
Well, it's
because-
the elastic nature of the reality.
Yeah.
Whereas actually trying to make something look real, even though it's drawn, means it definitely brings it back to
Yeah.
a smaller kind of idea.
So I guess the answer for us, Sam, is that we're excited to see what they do. It's kind of a brilliant idea from Disney's standpoint because they're guaranteed to make money off of this.
Yeah.
They're not going to lose money, so
And
they
I'm
know they can put money into it.
Thrilled by the technology. I think that's what's exciting
Yeah.
too. It really is groundbreaking. And
I don't think any of the live action movies have been better than the animated versions yet.
No, yeah.
But Dumbo looks unbelievable.
I know, but I can't even watch the trailer
Dumbo
without
looks
crying.
yeah,
True.
unbelievable. So no, I'm excited about all of them for sure. What else we got here? Courtney, thank you for putting that stuff up. You guys can look in the comment section for the Shoot Your Sizzle links and deadlines, fast track. Let's see here. My mom just joined.
Oh, and Courtney's got a success story as well, actually.
Courtney does have a success story. I don't think she's shared it yet. Courtney, if you want to put it in the comment section, put it up there.
Courtney's our social media
It's a great success story.
extraordinaire, and she's had this amazing success story with a writing gig, actually. With
one of our writing gigs, that's right.
She came on board to be our social media
The
manager.
person did not know that it was an employee of the ISA.
I think it was happening at the same time. And
when she was applying.
applying for the role as a social media manager, and then she also applied for a writing gig, and these two things in tandem have turned out really rather well for her, which is, congratulations, Courtney, you're amazing. Very, very cool.
All right, we've got another one submitted to the Nick Writing Program. Cheers. All right, so there are 2 questions that, one of which is more specific to the writing program, and then Maddie, I promise we'll get to your question here. So this will be a nice little segue back into Shirley.
Sure.
So Helena is one of my writers through the Story Farm, which, by the way, I'm throwing out a whole bunch of call packages at discounted rates. You guys can purchase a bunch of evaluations for the year. You can email me, max@thestoryfarm.org. But Helena and I are working on a Kim's Convenience spec. It's a Canadian sitcom. And so she is asking, do all your readers know the shows they read for? Is a Canadian show and very few people... Kim's Convenience is a Canadian show. Very few people I speak to in the U.S. seem to be familiar with it.
Well, there is a list. There's a specific list.
And it is on the list. Yeah. And then let's see. I speak to and its unique characters, comedic tone. I'm worried about submitting with this show due to that uniqueness not resonating with a reader who doesn't know the show.
Yeah, we don't put any shows on the accepted shows list that people don't know or that our readers don't know. Okay. It's on the list for a reason, and to be quite honest, that was the reason why we went to the list format, because there used to be, some people that would think, oh my God, I'm going to pick this super, super obscure show so that I stand out from all the Modern Family that people are submitting. Right. And then we'd go, crap.
Yeah, right.
We got to find the show. And
we got to see if this is good.
Yeah, and then give them some time to but no, you'll be fine. Yeah. Submit what you want to submit. Don't submit what you think that we want to see.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea, and I basically my advice, Helena, which I think I've mentioned to you on the phone, is just don't hesitate, stop doubting yourself, dive in.
We talk a lot about voice, and so if something really gets you, or you get it, then I think that's the one you should really
She loves
follow.
The show, so she's like, I want to write a spell.
If you know the show, that's what's really going to come across. Your love of the show, your understanding of the show and the characters and how they live and move in this world that you are creating. So
that's exciting. It's good that you've got a new idea and a fresh voice.
I think it's a good idea. You just keep going. Anthony's asking, Nickelodeon sent me a written rejection letter and asked me to apply again this year. Is that a compliment?
Sure. I mean, here's the thing. When when you're applying to a program, especially, I can only speak to the Nick Writing Program, but I always say you should be. If you don't get 1 year, it shouldn't be just one and done. Okay, I'm a failure and it's all over. Yeah. At least for our program, we don't care if you got in the 5th year you applied, or the 10th year you applied, or the 1st year you applied. They're all success stories for us because we don't know the backstory, right? So if you were going to school and have a family or have a significant other and you had health issues, and even through all that you found time to write and better yourself as a writer, doesn't matter. Our program is blind submission process, so your script will go through multiple rounds of reading before we even know who you are. So before we read your resume or what you've done or not done or any of that. So, we really, really want to make sure that we're selecting material that is funny.
I guess the thing is, if you did a script that you weren't that happy with 1 year, well, I guess what you're saying is it doesn't matter. It won't be held against you the second year.
It's not, no.
If it wasn't working, it wasn't good.
They're not going to remember Anthony and be like, Anthony McBride.
Yeah, and also, you're not going to be submitting the same spec.
Yeah, right.
No. So you're going to be submitting something new. So again, evolving as a writer, even if that 1 year it is good, but you just didn't make it, you make it to a semifinalist round or a finalist round, you didn't make it, as one of the selected 4. Even then, right? A year from now, you may write a new spec and be like, what was I thinking with that other spec, right? Because now you have new experience, more specs, pilot, whatever it is under your belt.
You might know the show even better.
Yeah, yeah. It might be so many, there's so many things that factor in. So no, don't, definitely apply again. Getting a rejection letter does not mean...
what? That is amazing that they actually send out rejection letters too. So many people don't send out a rejection letter if you
Yeah, you
don't
just
get the
find out in
role.
the announcement, oh, I guess I didn't go.
do it.
Yeah.
You know, that didn't happen.
Yeah.
And it, you know, it's not so nice, even if it's a fairly well, it's still nice to know one way or the other.
Yeah.
You know.
These programs and fellowships are very, you know, and they have to be, and I hope you all can at least know this or understand this, that they're very content heavy. You have to write an amazing script. I mean, come on. But if you also happen to be a really interesting person, or write an incredible, you know, summary of yourself, or you have this, you know, really diverse background, of course that's going to help. But I would assume that you guys would probably look you know, at a script and be like, this person wrote an amazing draft of this spec, and so what is the judgment process like? Can you even talk about that? Like, because it has to be difficult with some of these specs that after a while, I would think if you have 15 really great writers, TV writers that you're reading specs for, how do you even narrow it down to 4?
Well, at that point, it's really, there's different phases to the selection process.
Right.
So the first
the
entire
personal stuff
phase
does come into play.
Yes,
Yeah.
but not until much,
Later.
much later.
Yeah.
You know, you submit with your spec. We have round 1 readers, which is a list of readers that will go through each spec. You know, that's, you know, whether you make it to the next round of reading. So it's not even, you know, it's just from one to the next. And then a new person will read that, your script again, and then that's a pass or consider. And then we get to the 3rd round, and that's really where it's the 3rd pass or consider.
Mm-hmm.
And then at that point, whatever's left there is what we will interview. And then the interviews are multiple sets of interviews. So first we'll do a phone interview, and that's when really I'm wanting to know more about your style of writing. Why did you pick the show that you picked? You know, is it because you resonated with it? Is it because you wanted to challenge yourself and wanted to try something completely, you know, different than you would have normally done? Or, you know, whatever the case is, and what your process is when it comes to writing. I want to know that you have one. You know,
right,
you're just like, well, you know, I will just lay on the couch and when the mood strikes me, because you know, I can't staff that, right?
Yeah, right.
But really, that first phone interview is just an opportunity to get to know you as a writer.
I think that was a really interesting comment, and I hope everybody noticed that, because you said I can't staff that. So the end game is, can I staff this person?
Yes.
Now, a lot of people, you know, ask in the TV world, is ageism real? If you're 70 years old and you write an amazing spec script, is that something that you might go, well, this might not be right, you know?
No, because we don't, if you make it to the semifinalists are all just the yeses out of those 3 rounds of reading. So it has nothing to do with your age, your name, who your mom and dad are, whether you even went to, you know, a 4-year university and studied writing, or whether you picked it up from, you know, someone that came up off the street and was like, you know what, you're funny, you should be a writer, and then you went to take an extension course at UCLA or not, right? You bought every book that you could find on screenwriting and learned it that way.
Yeah. Okay.
We don't, you know, that's the whole point of doing this program and having it be a window, right? It's that, you know, there's a different way in. It doesn't have to be this traditional route of you have to, I mean, you pay your dues in so many different ways, right? But it's not the traditional route of you have to know someone, and then hopefully fingers, toes, eyes, all of it crossed, that you get to be a writer's assistant, and then maybe a script coordinator, and then maybe you're a script coordinator for years, and then maybe someone will give you a shot to throw out an idea, and then maybe it's not like that. Here we're really trying to get you on that fast track, if you will.
But accelerate the process.
Yeah, but really develop you with those Nickelodeon sensibilities. We obviously want you to be successful within our studio.
Yeah, right. Of course. That's the end game. You want to be able to staff on their shows.
Yeah, but really when it comes to staffing, it's really more of, you know, again, process, right? Do you have a process? Because when you are working as a staffed writer, you're on a deadline. Again, it doesn't just come just because. And you're going to be in a room and working with other people, and then what's your position in the room, and all rooms are created differently, right?
Certainly.
I think in the TV world, even that much more than the feature side of things, and the features you have to have this too, but I think in the TV world, you really have to have a sense of self. Who am I within this situation and on this show? Not only be for a basic reason of the hierarchy once you do get staff, like where am I in the, from showrunner down to, but also why was I staff? Why was I chosen for this show? You should be able to know that and have confidence in that. It's because my voice is this. It's my version of comedy. They hired me for this. And so choosing the spec scripts to submit is not just, I think they're going to like this show. It's because you have a sensibility toward that show. Yeah. Otherwise, why are you writing it?
Yeah, we like all the shows.
Right.
We all watch a lot of TV.
Yeah.
And so you have to choose something that's going to showcase your best work.
And showcase your ability to... The writer you are, but also to understand how that show works and why. And that's the hardest part for writing a spec. Because it's, it's one thing to just watch a ton of episodes and try to memorize it, but it's also the choices behind some of these characters, the different, very specific voices. Like Bob's Burgers for me would be a really fun spec to write, but really difficult because they've done so many episodes and so many antics and weird things that go on, and all those characters have very specific voices with little storylines that it's incredibly intricate. There's a reason you have a room full of writers writing these shows because there's a ton of work to do.
But on that note, that's why we don't have Nickelodeon shows on our accepted shows list. Is because once it gets to a point that an executive may read the spec or a writer that works on that show, right? They're not. It's almost impossible. Too hard to judge. Yeah, it's too hard to judge. So that's why we don't choose any Nickelodeon shows. Yeah. All right, let's see. How many people submit to the Nick Writing program? So we were kind of chatting about this, but
it's about a quarter of the
It's less than nickel.
Way less.
Way less than nickel.
It's about a quarter of the amount of nickel. So do your own poking.
Yeah, if you know the number of nickel.
But the main thing about that, and I would just say that it says in your little kind of blurb about it, the writing program offers emerging television writers from around the world a paid opportunity to develop their craft and launch their careers. And I think that's the thing, is people get worried that they're going to get stuck only writing children's TV, and that's not the case.
Yeah. I mean, it's, you can get stuck wherever you want, right? I mean,
you can get stuck just lying on your couch at home.
Some people never ever submit to any of the programs, right? And never make it as writers. I feel like just with like anything, you have to put in the work. You never really stop breaking into this industry. We have so many success stories. Go and take a look at the list of our alum of the program. There's a percentage of them that are still working in kids TV, and there's a whole lot of them that are not. We have people over at American Dad, we have people still at DreamWorks, we have Jessica Gao, who wrote Pickle Rick. So
I don't know Pickle Rick.
Pickle Rick and Morty.
Oh,
is the
yes,
specific
I've seen
episode.
the picture of the pickle. Yeah,
I mean, so we have people working on The Flash, and so you have both live action and animation. You have kids TV. We have some that have gone to work in the preschool space as well, and some that have gone on to create shows. So really, the sky's the limit, but I'm not really one to say what your limit should be. It's really where you want to end up.
Yeah, what do you want to do?
We also have the story editor of The Loud House. She went into the program wanting to write live action. Not even comedy, but she's like, and she loves her job.
Right.
Loves her job, is
There are
working
some
on an
funny live action Nickelodeon shows, by the way, but she's
she's in animation, right? She's in animation. You would have never thought, and she loves it.
What an amazing thing, though, to get paid to find out what you like to do.
Yeah,
I think that's the most wonderful thing.
Come on.
We should probably get back to Maddie's
well,
question.
I think that's a good segue.
Because that's a good,
So what is let's see, we've got a couple other things, we'll get back to it, but Maddie says, interested in pursuing animation writing, breaking into the animation. One of my connections recommended I do a preschool spec script, and I was wondering what the biggest difference between preschool and general is. So
the biggest difference between the preschool track and the general track is that the preschool track is 6 months long versus the general track is year long.
Huh.
This is all on the site, by the way.
Yes, it is all on it's all on the website. So we answer all of the questions on the website.
Give some examples of shows in the preschool realm.
Well, I mean, they have their own accepted shows list.
Okay.
They've selected very few,
Okay.
just because they're looking for, a specific style and what they're trying to teach in the goal of the program. Obviously, it's 6 months, so it's much quicker.
Yeah.
So I guess that's useful for you to know, Maddie. It depends how long you want to spend being salaried and in a.
But again, it's that same thing. It goes back to the same thing. If you don't like preschool, you probably shouldn't write preschool.
Right.
And
I would
that
think
doesn't
the
mean you have to.
preschool-
That doesn't mean you have to love preschool shows. I mean, but have an understanding and realize what the meaning behind writing for preschool is,
Yeah.
and,
the kind of
and what the
lessons.
end goal is,
Yeah.
right?
I would think writing for preschool, or at least trying to break into that realm, would be much more finite than the general realm. There's just so many more shows in the general realm. Has to be, right? I mean,
Well, I guess then there's probably less people applying. So I guess
There's definitely less
whether
people
it's the program
applying.
or
Yeah.
just in general, if she
Yeah.
doesn't get into the program, she still wants to write for preschool shows.
I guess it depends on your voice, doesn't it? It really
does,
depends on
yeah.
who, the kind of effect you want to have with your work.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
a great, my goodness, starting that young, big effect on people's lives.
Yeah.
Well, and the style of writing is slightly different, right?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
have to really think about it from the audience, right? From
Yeah.
their view.
I've seen
and-
some of those preschool shows though, and there's like some dog one, like puppy.
Paw Patrol.
Paw Patrol. And it's actually pretty engaging. Like I found myself sitting there like, yeah, get the helicopter.
Yeah. Well, it's not about, with preschool, it's not about dumbing things down, right? But
No.
being able to tie it to either a lesson or a theme, but
Right.
a theme that children of that age range are going to be able to understand.
Yeah.
It seems
Or-
even more goal oriented than some of the general, non-preschool shows. Like it's
Yeah.
obvious. We have to do this today. Let's go.
Well, it's
you
the
know.
same like Sesame Street, where they give
Yeah.
you certain things you have to learn, and
Yeah.
there's something to be achieved
Yeah.
at the end of it.
Yeah. It's
think
very
it's
very finite. But there
very
was some
cool.
other questions.
And then that was the live action to animation.
in
that
your
was the other
experience,
thing.
most notable differences between animation. I mean, obviously, it's live action or animation. For me, it's I had it in my head. It was the amount of companies who actually make animation is fewer than the companies that do live action, and a lot of companies do in-house development of those animated shows. It's a little more difficult to get your animated, pilot out around town. It doesn't mean it's impossible. You're probably going to need a lot more manager and agent help, as opposed to writing a really great pilot and not having any representation, somebody finding it and go, wow, this is the next Breaking Bad. It's just because the audience is so different. That, I think, would be the biggest difference for me.
When it comes to live action and animation, I mean, I feel like I honestly feel like the animation crowd is much more open and friendly to hearing ideas from anybody.
Huh,
The
okay.
gates aren't as locked.
Interesting. All right.
But it's more about finding who that
Who,
person is,
yes,
right?
right.
Or, but even then, there's a little bit more give. So at least at our studio, the coordinator level, they read a lot of pilots.
Submitted
and
from agencies and
submitted from agencies. Sometimes, I mean, people don't really do this as much anymore, but we have a number at the bottom of our website, ask who the person in the development department is, or can I be transferred there? They may not put you to the SVP of development, but they may throw you to an assistant or a coordinator, and you can probably find the name of who you're trying to contact online.
Right.
And kind of find your way to a contact of who can I send my materials to.
right. And are you willing to accept it at all? And then at least you got to start.
Yeah,
At least you have someone's name, it feels like there's a beginning.
I will say though, don't just rely on one pilot that you wrote. Try to have
That's
a
also
whole
true.
stash, and take your time making sure you really feel good
Yeah,
about
get
it.
ready.
Get notes and I mean, it's
If
you
they
have
open the
one
door,
first impression.
Yeah.
Well, and also you want to pick, you want to be a little bit specific in terms of the genre and where you're looking to get staffed first, and
Yeah,
then
yeah, yeah.
from there you can kind of expand. But
Yeah.
I feel like that's one of the things sometimes when I meet writers that are like, "Well, I can do it all," and I'm like, "Ooh, Ooh, that's can you?
Yeah,
Like,
right.
I mean, I don't know, right?
Yeah,
But,
you might be right,
yeah.
but it's hard to believe. Dawn says this isn't really a question, and Dawn, I think you should be a writer because this is very well written. Even if you feel like the odds are against you, definitely apply to the program. I gave last year's Hollywood table read my screenplay a shot and wound up making it to the point where I got the craft course. Not only did I learn more about the script I submitted via feedback, the craft course gave me a fresh way of looking at how I worked out stories. Thank you. I wrote that course.
Yeah. And I think that's it. I mean, like, even if you write the spec for the Nickelodeon writing program, there are other fellowships you can apply for.
with the same spec.
So,
Mind you.
Right.
So yeah, look at all of our accepted shows list. We kind of all go towards the same shows.
Yeah.
For us, we don't take pilots, so we don't take original material. And one of the things that isn't on the website, we put a whole ton of information on the website, but one thing that isn't on the website is if you do make it to the semi-finalist rounds and I call you for a phone interview, I will ask you for a second spec, and that spec has to be a new spec than the one you submitted to originally, and it has to be a show from the accepted shows list.
right.
Different show or same?
Different.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go,
And-
Helena. I think that answers that.
And if you don't have one, you are automatically disqualified.
Whoa. So get another one ready.
Can't
Read
be a
at
one-hit
least-
wonder, folks.
No.
Do not be a one-hit wonder.
And really that came from people always say when they meet Karen and they meet me, we have a lot of things in common, and we really believe in writers and what they're wanting to do. But if you're a writer, yes, I know specs aren't the thing to have in your portfolio anymore, but still, it's a great practice. And
Huge.
as a writer, you should be always writing.
Yeah.
So to have 2 specs
Right.
in your portfolio is not asking a lot.
Yeah. I think spec writing is a good example of how much do you really love this? How much do you really love just this process of writing? Like, do you ever sit up on the couch when you're watching a show and go, I think I want to try to write an episode of that? Just for the fun of it. I'm not saying if you have never had that thought, you shouldn't be a writer or something, but it is a little bit of a test of how willing am I to just write as much as I possibly can. The amount of writers that we deal with, on an annual basis, there's a level of fatigue which is completely natural, but every so often you meet 5 or 6 writers that you're like, that person's going to be successful because there's zero level of complaint in that person's brain about this process.
Well, also, I think if you are having trouble with coming up with completely original material, so you feel worn out from that.
Yeah, right. It's
then
a good way to
it
get the
gives
creative
you-
juices.
Yeah, an exercise almost.
Yeah.
It can be a writing exercise rather than having to be something
And it's
that you
going
have
to
to pull
teach
out
you
completely.
how to write the pilot that you want to write. If you
Yeah.
love a Breaking Bad, or if you love Timeless, or if you love True Detective, and you want to write a show like that, you're going to have to figure out how to write that show. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to write your own. What are the beats? What are the act breaks? Where do the commercial breaks happen? What's the rhythm in a sitcom in terms of the number of jokes on a page, or 2 pages, or 3 pages? And every sitcom's a little different. You have to be able to know that.
I've been calling the top 25 writers for 2019, and we've been having this conversation quite a lot about trying to reverse engineer getting an agent or a manager, looking at shows that they love, looking at the writers who write on those shows, who are they rep by, why are they rep by them, how can they find their way to that agent and manager.
Yeah.
And it's all a process of reverse engineering and looking at the scripts and saying where, if you do want to be, because people say often they'd like to be staffed on a show, and then you say where, and they're like, because actually they say the words, but they haven't actually thought it through. Where would you like to be staffed?
Right,
And you
right.
should ask yourself that question.
Well, and also with the manager-agent thing, what are your needs as a writer?
Yeah.
An agent is going to be less hands-off,
Yeah.
or a manager's still going to, kind of finesse your writing and kind of work with you a little bit more. So if you're a newer writer, you may want a manager instead of an agent. And,
Yeah, that's a kind of
Yes.
a big career shaping moment rather than an agent, which
Yeah.
is much more.
And just because you have a manager doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to... All the writers that we've optioned with Creative Screenwriter, none of them are repped.
Nope.
And we just found those scripts. So it's, and not...
But
It helps.
my
I'm not saying don't have a manager.
our manager friends always say is they take between 10, 15, 20% depending on who you're with.
Well, and also,
And you should do the rest of the percent of work.
Right.
and if you're looking at an agent and you're a comedy writer and they have all comedy writers, where are you really gonna? Are they really gonna be working for you, or are they gonna be working?
They're
for
gonna go where the money's coming, man.
Yeah.
Top the comedy writer.
So do your homework. Do your homework and make sure it feels right.
I've had some writers that I've worked with, reach out to managers or primarily managers, some agents, and they've noticed on the agents or managers roster that they only have maybe 1 or 2 women. The rest of like the 15 are men or white men. And suddenly this is, a black female. And she's like, look, you don't have any African Americans on your roster. This is what I've done. This is what I've, it's that type of take that some people, especially in today's day and age where diversity is so strong, that manager may be looking for that type of diversity. So it's little angles like that you need to be, aware of. Helena has another question regarding U.S. or international track. I don't meet the J1 criteria because I currently live in Canada. Yet I have a U.S. green card and can work in the U.S. too. My question is, do I submit as U.S. or international when I can live and work in either country legally?
You would still apply. Oh, you would still apply international. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because the J1 visa is the only type that we can provide. If you already have a green card, you're all set.
Yeah.
There you go. Let's see. I was a 2018 Nick semi-finalist. Looking forward to submitting again.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Lee Cicero.
Yeah. Woohoo.
You're welcome, Maddie. Don, you're welcome. Best of luck to everyone applying.
Oh, that's nice. I like it when writers look after each other.
Right.
More of that, please.
Yes.
How long do we have to submit the second spec? Yeah, what's the time frame there?
Oh, immediately. It's after we get off the phone. I hand you over.
Well, so
to,
from the
it's
this
July
point
31st
now.
or something, isn't it?
So that would be.
Semi-finalists notified on July 31st.
There you go. So
You have until the end of July.
Summer.
So if you've got one in now, then you've got from
you
February, March, April, May, June.
But it's very good information to know that if you only have one spec, you're going to have to get at least one or other.
But also, again, if you don't have one, you will get disqualified on the spot. And it's not like you could write it overnight.
There you go. Josh actually
immediately.
answered it. That's when they make the first round of calls. Check the dates on the Nick Writing site to confirm. There you go.
Thank you, Joshua.
Josh, you can get a job at the Nick Writing. Well, let's see. We only have about maybe 5 minutes left. So if you guys have any other questions, go for it. There's not that much to add. I think we covered a ton.
Have fun. Have fun with it. I always say, I know people, I hate the word as much as you all do, networking, right? But be strategic about it, as not as in like, I want to meet the SVP of development at Nickelodeon, right? But just say, I want to meet 5 people that are different than the 5 people I met last time at this event. Right? And force yourself to expand your network. Yeah. And it's less about, who, and then make genuine connections, right? So out of those 5 people, you may not like 4 of them, right? Or connect in a meaningful way. So forcing yourself to not get stuck in a conversation, right? Or to get comfortable with the one person that you got to the event with, right? And trying to expand your network that way. And I always tell people, for me, I try to connect with many people as I can, and it does get overwhelming. But I'm also very honest. We sponsor the Diversity and Comedy Festival. Second City put that on in the fall, and I was swamped with work right after for the next month and a half. And I said, please follow up with me like first week in December. And you have some people that won't. And you have some people that will, but the ones that did, I got back to them because, I want to keep those connections, but in this day and age, it's impossible to get an immediate response, right?
And also you do stuff at Austin Film Festival too? We
go to a lot of different festivals. We didn't attend this last year for Austin Film Festival, but, we sponsor a lot of different things. We go to Glass Animation Festival in Berkeley. We'll be at Second City Diversity and Comedy Festival again this year. We partner with the ISA, so we'll do panels all around town. Usually, if they're about the different writing fellowships or things like that, we participate. So just be on the lookout. We always post our stuff on Facebook and our Twitter. We have Amber. You can give her a shout out. Say I sent you her way, but she is the person that is on our social media sites, and she is awesome. And always puts our information for any events that we might be at, but come and introduce yourself, right? And ask a question, right? You know, say something that I may be able to answer, or something that's going to make me remember you. And one thing I always tell people is, I never care if no one remembers me, like when I'm meeting someone, because I always remember them. I always remember them, but that's how that's helped me in my career personally. And so it's a tip that I always give. It's like, I don't care if you don't remember me, but I'm gonna go up to you and say, hi, I'm Shirley. You probably don't remember me. Who cares? But we met here, and there, and I don't remember your name, but I remember all these other things. And they're gonna go, oh my God, yes, we did. Yeah. And then guess what? They're gonna feel bad, so they're gonna want to remember.
Right. Play the guilt card, man.
Yeah. Works every time.
This is a top tip here.
I think this is a good segue on how to end the episode, because, technically I titled this Planning for 2019, and I didn't necessarily go through steps to plan the whole year, but maybe we can kind of give advice. Obviously apply to the program. On top of that,
spec scripts.
What should a writer be doing in January to not only plan for various contests to submit to, that very organized approach, but on a little bit more of an ethereal, just
actually,
energetic.
I do have a plan for writers for 2019. Open up an Excel sheet or Google Excel or whatever, whatever spreadsheet, and start putting a list of all of the fellowships, all of the contests in what month they are, and whether you've applied, whether you've heard back, how much they cost. All of this information is online. A lot of it is already like on one specific website, like or things like that. Yep.
I think you can actually do an expenses sheet on the ISA as well. If you're ISA Connect, you can actually do an expenses sheet.
Oh, like an expense report kind of thing? Nice.
But do that, and then, and track where you are in the process, right? And if you attended an event that had, the NBC fellowship person and had me there, did you connect with them? Yes, no, okay. If I didn't connect with one, well, I'm going to try and do it at the next one.
That's a really good idea.
Because there's no sense of keeping it here.
Right.
No.
Put it on paper.
And if they mention something, even if you didn't speak to them, you can, next time you see them, you can say, I saw you at NBC, or I saw you at Nickelodeon program. Yeah. And you were talking about this, and this is why I'd like to speak to you, because it reminds me of. And I think that is...
Yeah, having things to talk about, is super important, and it doesn't have to come from memorizing a bunch of stuff. No, like put it down on, somewhere where you can always go back and just refer to it. I still do that with certain people that I keep in touch with.
Shirley has a dog. Shirley has a dog.
I do have a dog.
So remember that about Shirley. Shirley has a dog.
Yes.
Yeah. A 6-year-old beagle.
Yes. His name's Hoagie.
His name's Hoagie.
Hoagie, he probably looks like a Hoagie.
Make a note. You can talk about it.
I think for me to add on top of that, I think that what I was going to tell everybody, and this is just, I think, further, solidifying the idea, is that just don't be lackadaisical with your year. Don't just assume your writing is going to get done. Don't just be like, I'm a writer, I'll get some writing done. Plan it out. You don't have to necessarily say, I have to write for 2.5 hours every single day. Some people feel that's too rigid. I get that. If that works for you, do it. But at least have some form of it's more than intention. It's a proactivity behind, here's who I am and what I'm doing with my life. And obviously you have to make money and have a job. Be proactive with this year in terms of your writing.
All my top 25 writers, I asked them what their dreams were for 2019 and actually made them write them out and send them to me, which I think is an important thing to do for yourself. And there's still a few people who haven't replied to me yet, and I obviously can feel their resistance, because there's a reason why we don't make our plans.
Put it out there.
Yeah. Right. And then I also did a list of what are you working on. So you're doing the dreams, and then how are you going to achieve those dreams? So what are you working on right now, and how will that come to pass? And then what can I do to help? What can the ISA do to help? And I think I'm asking them specifically because I'm working with them in particular. Yeah, right. But you should ask yourself, what can I do to help myself in this situation? Who can I turn to? What can I do? Yeah, right. What fellowships can I apply for? How can I support myself? I think there's a Facebook group that Courtney organised where they're doing 2 hours of writing on a Sunday or something. Courtney, I think maybe if you're still there. And it was like a no excuse, no foul kind of thing. You just have to kind of like show up and do your 2 hours of writing on Facebook. And so I think Courtney and Shane have been doing it. So I think just stuff like that. Hold yourself accountable. You know, it doesn't matter if you don't do it one day. It's like a whole thing about dieting, which I don't agree with at all, by the way. But every day's a new day to start again. Keep getting up and keep doing it.
Just be proactive, make decisions, and stick to them.
And have fun.
Yeah.
Have fun. If you're miserable, no.
Yeah, right.
You gotta
change it up.
Have fun.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Shirley, for being here.
Thank you.
You're
Thank you
amazing.
for having me.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers to 2019 and
Absolutely.
everyone
Here we go. It's
submitting.
going to be a big year.
Cheers.